Whoa, wrong screen. What's up, everybody? Welcome to System Crafters Live. I'm David Wilson, and we're back again with another Friday stream where we get together as a community and talk about whatever topic I've come up with for the week, and this week is no exception. Thank you all for being here. I apologize for the lateness. I was trying to get a few different things together today, and it was quite busy. But we're here now, which is great, so we can get started. I'll say hello to the people who are here so far. Minas Mazar sends his regards, but he can't make it. Mark, Andrew, Raul, Fab, Sem, Technomag, Michael. Let's see. Let me grab the other folks here in the IRC side. Glenn, Osloy, Cal, Peter, DGR, Gun, Ashraz, who is feeling sick today, unfortunately. Sorry, Ashraz. Hope you feel better. Let's see, Mjolnir, Alternate Ved, Alejandro, Master Roman, Eric. Nice to see all of you. Oh boy, yeah, busy week. I don't know, like, I've been doing System Crafters full time for a month now, and I'm just as busy now as I was whenever I was doing this when I had a job. Actually, I'm probably more busy, so that's good though, right? It's a good thing. Yes, I see multiple people are in both IRC and YouTube, which is fine. You know, you won't confuse me too much. Hello to Dave. All right. Let's see. Peter says, Literate configuration. I used to have that until it grew to 130 kilobytes and was all crufty and called bankruptcy with one of the distros. Yes. Literate config can get pretty bulky, but we're going to try it again. We're going to see what happens. So let's see. What else is... Cal says, bridge YouTube chat to IRC. Well, that's what I plan to do. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. You know, some of the fun hacking projects that I could do are taking a bit of a backseat to some other things that are happening. So I would prefer to be, you know, writing some code to hook up YouTube to IRC, but that'll have to come in probably a few more weeks. Okay, so I didn't really get the stream notes pulled together correctly, so you're going to watch me do that right now. I'm just going to do some cheesy stuff, which is, you know, copying things from the previous stream notes, and I'm just going to put them in this file here and change the title. Let's see, what was it today? Literate configuration, a direct approach. There we go. Whoops. Sometimes I hit the wrong buttons. I'm still doing vanilla key bindings. I'm not back on evil. I don't intend to go back to evil, so... That hopefully should answer your question, your obvious next question. April 5th, is that today? Can't keep track anymore. 5th, 4/05. Yes, I know there are better ways to do some of these things. Don't nag me. Hello, Jeff. Jeff says, vanilla key bindings for the win. Yeah, I mean, it's going fine. It's going totally fine. You know, I got a little bit of hand soreness every now and then, but it's not bothering me that much. Master Roman says, IT folks, always 1,000 projects in the backlog at least. Yeah, for me, it's just a smorgasbord of distractions. Okay. So let's see, news. There's a couple things, actually. First of all, I'm going to announce a new iteration of the Hands-on Guile Scheme for Beginners course. So Hands-on Guile Scheme for Beginners, April edition. Is now open for registration. So if you go check out the course page, I've got everything up to date on there with the dates and everything. There's also a link to the registration page if you want to register for the course. Nothing really is any different this time because I've been working a lot on improving what I did the very first iteration, and I'm sort of in the process of executing that now with the second iteration. I think it's going well, so we'll continue with the same model. I moved around a little bit of the live Q&A session dates. Now, when I announced the previous iteration, there were 3 dates. Now there are 4 dates, and I've shifted them a little bit so that it works a little bit better with the times when I release new content for the course. So it gives you a chance to ask questions about the material while you're working on the exercises. So I think this is going to be probably maybe the final change to the model of the course. I think this is going to be where we settle, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you wanted to get in on one of the previous Gal Scheme for Beginners courses and you didn't get a chance, now you have another chance. And the first date of the course will be April 20th. That will be a day where I deliver the first chapter of material, which goes into the fundamentals of Scheme. And then every 2 weeks after that, I deliver another chapter that has information about functional programming in Scheme, practical programming in Guile, and also building a real-world program using Guile schemes. So it's going to be really fun, and I hope that some of you would like to join and sort of check out the latest iteration of it, because I think it's a lot better the way that I've got it set up this time. It's all pre-recorded videos and written text for all of the modules of the course, but then we have the live component where you can ask questions and chat with the other people in the course, and then there's the forum as well, so you can ask questions there. I also do code review of the exercises that I give you at the end of each chapter, so I think it's a nice model. It's a nice way to learn Scheme. Let's see. Sabota says, could you add a couple of sessions in the middle of the week for the people in the course to meet and discuss amongst themselves? I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, it's actually currently possible to do that out of band. But yeah, I haven't really thought about that. So sure, it's a good question. Anything else I want to say about that? There's a discount, 10% off the course price until, what is it? Monday, April 15th. So you've got like a little over a week. So you have 10% discount up until then, and then I think that's basically like the final week of registration. It's full price, but it's should be fine. So next thing I wanted to mention is the craftering project that Shom has been putting together, and some folks have been working on this week. So this is a web ring for blogs of System Crafters community members. And if you want to have your blog linked to other blogs or websites of System Crafters community members, you can go to this repo and add yourself to, I think, to the websites.json file. I haven't actually looked at this very closely, but if you look here, there's already a few people's blogs listed here. And what this does, I don't know if there's a... yeah, Shom has a demo page. What this does is it generates an index page for all of the people who have added their blogs to the list. And then there's a little bit of HTML and CSS you can throw in your own website to link your blog to others. Let's see, does Shom have this in his site? Yeah, Craftering. I don't know if it actually shows. Okay, yeah, so basically if you click next or previous, it will jump to another person in the Crafter ring. So now we're on Glenn's site. So if you want to have your site linked to other people in the System Crafters community, go add your stuff here. The official site for Craftering hasn't been set up yet because I've been busy and haven't actually been able to put a domain to it yet. But I think this is a cool effort, and thanks to Shom for putting it together and the others who have been helping him with it this week. It's pretty awesome. I'm trying to think if there's anything else going on in the news this week. Well, there is one thing. I wiped my main laptop, installed Void Linux, just as an experiment, just to see how it goes. What you're seeing right now actually is Void Linux. That looks the same, right? It's nice to just install a new Linux distro and have it look exactly the same as what you were using before. It's not exactly the same. Some of the fonts are a little bit different because they don't have the same fonts package, but Yeah, this is how I like to roll. You know, I crafted my system configuration, and I should be able to replicate that even on a different Linux distro. So that's what you got. If you're wondering why, I just want to try something new. Yeah, nice new old look. That's right. So voidlinux.org. Yes. Gun says void as an empty. Yes, it's actually void as in the void type of the C language, from what I understand. But anyway, this is the webpage for void. I'm not really like promoting void at the moment. I'm still feeling it out. I'm also kind of taking the temperature of the community around void to see, you know, what kind of people are there and how they deal with contributions for package definitions and things of that nature. So I'm trying to like assess the situation before I make any recommendations for people to try it out. But if you have questions about void, I can certainly answer them. Not right now, but in the IRC or on the forum or whatever, because I've been using it for about a week and it's been going well. I don't know. Like, I had some issues with installation because I tried to do a full disk encryption, and there's a bug in Grub in the latest version of the installer image, which came out last month, where apparently on some machines, mine included, at the very end, when you do all the installation steps and you get to the very end where you have to type in grub install, it tells you that the partition is an unknown format or something, unknown file system. So yeah, I tried to reinstall it like 3 or 4 times with the same image and then gave up and used an older version of the image, and then it worked. So there are a little bit of rough spots, but honestly, it was easier to install than Alpine was. Even though I did the manual install. I didn't use the installation. Wow, what accent was that? I didn't use the installation wizard that you can use in the console. Let's see. Jeff says, did you Geeksify it? I can't right now because the Geeks installation script does not support Void. There's a patch that someone has submitted to Geeks to fix that, but it's been like a year or two and hasn't been merged yet. And then there have been multiple efforts to get Guile 3 packaged on Void. There's only 2.2 right now, but Guile 3 apparently has been trouble. And because Guile 3 is not available, Geeks is not available. So I have to either help them with that, or I have to convince somebody to finish the work on that, or just use Geeks some other way, like in a VM or something. I like using Geeks for development, for software development, so I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do for that, for sure. Let's see. Peter says Alpine is great for containers, but I would not want it on a host machine. I've actually installed Alpine a couple times on a direct on hardware and also in Windows Subsystem for Linux, and it's been fine. Like if you use Wayland and Pipewire with Sway, like if you have a minimal setup, kind of like I do, where you don't have to have like the whole GNOME desktop or something, then it's easier to use Alpine. But I don't really know how it would be if you wanted to use a big desktop environment. For me, this is perfectly sufficient. And I'm gradually trying to remove things as well. You can see I don't have a panel anymore. I got rid of Waybar, and now I've got like the Sway bar that only shows up if I hold the super key. Alejandro says, install Arch Linux. No. Arch is not the minimal distro it used to be, I think. I don't have anything against Arch. I've used it for years. Menacing Mecca, hello. Missed the intro. Are you moving off of Geeks? Not really moving off of Geeks. I'm just trying something different. It's not like there's no big mission here to move off Geeks or anything. Geeks, I'm so used to Geeks, and I think that it provides so much value that there's no way I would not use Geeks in some capacity, but I wanted to just try something new. Here's the summary of what I'm thinking. Since my configuration is actually so simple now because I'm just using Sway/Wayland and Pipewire and a minimal set of applications day to day, any minimal Linux distribution, it should be fairly easy to replicate my setup because most of the stuff that I do is actually in user space and not in the system configuration. So just being able to install the packages that I need and then run Sway and Pipewire as a user level setup. I don't use like a login manager with like a splash screen where you log in and everything. I just log in directly from TTY, and my bash profile just drops me into Sway. So I don't really have a lot of requirements for a Linux distribution. And I think that I can minimize what I do to where the system could be replicable pretty much anywhere. So I'm just experimenting with some thoughts because, system crafting should be possible on any distro. And I think that with the right choice of tools, you could pretty much use your same setup on many distributions, I think. So that's my thesis. I'm going to be investigating that and maybe making some videos on it at some point. Peter said, I had too much weirdness with Alpine in the past. Granted, that was years ago. Yeah, Alpine has improved a lot. I quite like it, and it does have Geeks. It's easy to install Geeks on Alpine, and I've used it in Windows Subsystem for Linux. I think I installed my my entire Emacs config on Alpine in Windows Subsystem for Linux, and it worked just fine with Emacs PGTK. So I was running Emacs PGTK in Windows through Windows Subsystem for Linux on an Alpine image. And it wasn't perfect, but it looked really good, and it worked pretty much how I wanted it to. So it is possible. Master Roma says, some folks love Muzzle. I've heard it's usable on desktop as well. Muzzle is tricky. And Void also has the ability to install everything with Muzzle-based glibc, or libc, let's say. But if you try to run off-the-shelf Linux software, or you try to run just Linux software in general, building it against Muzzle, you can run into trouble. So this is the reason why I don't really try to use Muzzle-based stuff, even though Muzzle's pretty cool. It can be a problem sometimes. So I'm using the glibc build of Void because of that. Okay, let me just get everything set up here. Alejandro says, does Emacs transparencies work on Windows or Mac? Actually, it did work on Windows, surprisingly enough. The actual alpha transparency feature of Emacs 29 actually worked on Windows whenever I ran the Wayland version of Emacs, the PGTK version of Emacs on Windows from an Alpine container. The background was actually visible. In fact, other Windows programs were visible through the Emacs frame. So I was quite surprised about that. It worked fine. Ashra says, and it was faster than the native Windows variant if you stayed on the WSL file system. Yeah, it's fast enough. Like, if you use Emacs, the native build of Emacs on Windows, if you try to use Magit to deal with the Git repository, it is ridiculously slow. And I did not have that problem at all with sorry, I got distracted. I didn't have that problem at all with Emacs running inside of WSL using Magit inside of the file system. Okay. Peter says, I have the impression that Windows Emacs is much faster, but that could also be my config pruning. The biggest problem is the point where Emacs has to open a file or read files because either you have Windows Defender or whatever they call it these days, intercepting calls to file system operations that slows things down, or just the slowness of the port of all of the GNU tools to Windows, I think. It just causes things to be a bit more slow. I've had a lot of trouble with that over the years. It was even worse whenever it was Cygwin before. All right, I also should mention that Alejandro released a package. Is it on GitHub? Where is it, Alejandro? Is it GitHub or is it here? Probably not here. Is it on Codeberg? Codeberg. Or is it on, there it is, transparency.el. There we go. There we go. Yeah, that's it. So this is basically a package that it makes it easier to manage transparency of Emacs frames. So if you like using transparency, you should check out Alejandro's package. Okie dokie. So today I'm going to try something a little bit different. We're going to talk about the topic of today, but I'm actually going to try to do this in a way where I can make a video out of it. Just a little experiment. I don't know how well it's going to go. It might be a little awkward. We've done this before in the past, a while back. I don't know how long ago it was, but I don't know. Like, I feel like not enough people are watching the stream recordings because who wants to watch a 2-hour video? I mean, I watch 5-hour videos, live stream recordings of other people, but I think most people don't want to do that. So I would like to try to take the most salient parts of a given stream, cut that down to actual normal video length, and then put it on the channel and maybe hide, not really hide, but put the live stream recording in a playlist so that people could find it if they want to, but not expect people to watch the recording of the stream, because I don't know, some of you like them. I mean, sometimes I'll get 3,000 views on a stream recording, which is cool, but I think that most people don't really want to see that. Fade says Magit has issues. No, it's not really Magit having the issue. It's Git on Windows having the issue. Let's see. So, let's see. It says, I have no experience with that. You're lucky. Okay, so let me turn on the org. Come on now. Org present. Hello. Borussia says, Git's issue on Windows is Windows. That's true. Okay. Let me see if I can get some recording started here. So all of you who are in the IRC, your chat messages will probably be showing up in the video for... Ooh, you know, I should turn off the music. Yeah, I should turn off the music, actually, before I start this. Stop music. Ah, wrong window. If you like the music, I'm sorry. It has to go off now. Borussia says, are you dropping the idea of configuring Emacs with Geeks Home? No, I'm just... We'll talk about it. Well, the model that I use does not preclude using Geeks Home, necessarily. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be real interesting. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to do something that seems like a video intro, and we'll see how it goes. It's going to be a terrible failure, but this is just what we're going to live with. All right, so today, what I would like to try to do is convert my Emacs configuration into a literate org config with org Babel. Now, you probably remember a few years back, I actually had my entire configuration be an org Babel config, and I promoted that strategy on the Emacs from Scratch series that I did back in 2020, 2021. And you know, I enjoyed having a literate configuration for a while. The main benefits of that being that you can generate a website from your configuration. Also, it gives you a nice way to organize your configuration in one larger org file, and even describe the reasons why you do certain things in your configuration. So I converted away from this strategy. I'm trying to think of how long ago that was. It was probably at least a year ago, maybe more than a year ago. But the reason why is because I got a little bit tired of having to retangle my configuration files every time I sync my dot files between machines. And that's still a problem. That's still something that can be annoying whenever using a literate configuration. Let me actually stop here. So there may be people watching this who don't know what a literate configuration is. So org mode gives you the ability to put code blocks into org files. So let's say I'm in this code file right now. I type in EL. That's using the org structure templates, which is the little arrow SC or arrow EL was from org tempo, something to talk about for another video. But the idea is that you can create a new code block and then put whatever code you want in it. And then when you add some header parameters to the code block, like tangle, and then maybe a file like in myconfig.el. In fact, let me just drop out of org present here. Then whenever you run a certain command, in fact, let me just do this, message foo. Okay, I think that the key binding is control, what is it? Control CVT. Okay, it says it tangled one code block from April 5, 2024. And then if I look at myconfig.el, it's there. So basically what happens is Emacs will take the contents of that code block and also put it with the tangle, wherever you'd say that you want the tangle to go. And that could be a file that's right next to the org file that you have, or it could be somewhere else on your hard drive. So someone who puts together a literate org configuration is actually making a big org file with a bunch of configuration blocks that all get put out into different configuration files on their system. So it's a way for you to write your configuration in one place and then have that org file create all your configuration files, and then you set them up in your system however you normally place your configuration files where they belong. So today what I'm going to try to do is move my configuration, which is actually, let's see, .files.emacs. I have one init.el file, and then I have a modules folder that has a bunch of stuff in it as well. I don't know if I'll move all these things back, but it is possible to move many of these things into one big org file or multiple org files and still have it write out all of these individual files and then load them into my Emacs config however I want. So that's sort of what I want to do. And through this process, you'll see how you could also possibly do it yourself if you haven't tried this before. If you've tried it before and you're in the live stream chat right now, you could definitely give me some hints and pointers if there's anything that I'm not thinking about, or maybe if there's some cool strategies that you know about that I haven't seen. So that would definitely be helpful. Let's see. Let me look at the chat real quick. Master Roman says, I use auto tangle mode for tangling org file of my settings.org. There's auto tangle mode. That's probably a package, I would guess. Auto tangle mode Emacs. Org auto tangle, is that it? Oh, it must be Progfolio. Progfolio is a known Emacs package author. So let's see. Seems like a pretty simple package. That's actually not bad. In fact, it looks like it's being run in the background with an Emacs batch execute, which is great. That would save you from the trouble of having your current Emacs be held up whenever it runs that. So that's something we should keep in mind. Maybe we could probably try using auto tangle mode. So thanks to Master Omen for that. So you're probably wondering why I decided to go back to a literate configuration. I've been thinking about it for a while, actually. There's a couple reasons why. One is I think that the way that I did it the first time was a little bit complicated and not really providing much value, or it was providing value, but it was doing too many things. So not only was I, creating all my configuration files from org files, I was also doing some templating of the configuration parts using NoWeb, which is a way to pass variables between code blocks and maybe load up Emacs Lisp code and get their variables and get the values from the variables and insert those in the code blocks. I actually had some pretty decent success with that approach, but I felt like it was just one thing in this house of cards that I had constructed, and maybe it wasn't the best approach for having system-specific settings. So I've got some different ideas on how I want to accomplish that now. So I think that we will try it in a simpler way, and also try it in a way that doesn't necessarily require using GNU Stow or some other approach to symlinking configuration files into my home folder. I would instead prefer to try to write them out directly to my home folder. And the reason why is that if you write out your configuration files into your .files folder and then have to symlink those, you either have to ignore all of those configuration files you've written out using your gitignore file, or you have to check them in also. So I tried it both ways. I found that ignoring them worked fine, but then you had the extra step where you have to make sure that everything is symlinked correctly after you sync your dot files. So that's an extra step that you have to do. You have to write a script that can tangle all your dot files after you pull your Git repository, and then you have to update all your symlinks. So that's an extra step that's necessary. The other way is to commit all of your emitted configuration files and your org file at the same time. But then you get two different sets of files that have to be kept in sync. And if you're like only committing parts of your org file, you also have to go to your configuration file and commit those parts as well. And it becomes a little bit messy. So I'm going to skip both of those things by writing out the configuration files directly to the locations where they exist on the home folder. And then you're probably wondering, well, what if you go edit one of those files and then later you have to go back into your org file and then tangle it again and it overwrites your changes? Well, honestly, I feel like that possibility is okay. I mean, it's risky, but so long as you have the discipline to go and edit your org file first and not try to edit your configuration files directly, then you'll be okay. And I think that maybe one way to do that is to make sure that those files are read-only when they're written out so that you remember, oh, okay, I shouldn't touch this file. That's sort of what Geeks Home does whenever it creates a file to put in your home directory. It makes that file read-only so you don't try to go edit it. There's another reason why that happens, but really the end result is that you see that the file is read-only and you don't try to mess with it. So we'll try to emit read-only configuration files directly to the location where they should exist in the home folder. And another aspect of this, which is kind of nice, is that whenever you sync your dot files, it doesn't automatically apply those changes into your home folder. So maybe you're not ready yet. You want to sync your dot files, but you don't actually want to apply those changes to your home folder just yet. This is one way to sort of not activate those changes until you're ready. And then you go tangle that dot files file, the org babel file to put all of your configuration files where they belong. So we'll try that approach and see how well it works. I might decide to change back and not use this approach at some point, but that's just the way it goes. You just experiment with things and see what works and what doesn't work, and then you decide how you want to move forward with your configuration. One other thing that sort of inspired me to do this is I actually saw a video by Prat recently. I think it was probably about a month ago. Where is his video? Let's see, YouTube Protesilaus. So he had a video about his literate configuration because he did a lot of work on it recently. Where is it? Right here, Advanced Org Literate Configuration. I definitely recommend you check out Prat's video as well. In fact, I'll link it here in the... Okay, I hear Prat talking in my computer right now. Anyway, he went through his configuration, how he does everything. I'll take a slightly different approach, but it was interesting to sort of see what he decided to do with his configuration. He has a very nicely presented website where he has all of his configuration, where you can go read through it if you want to, where you can learn how he configures his Emacs and his system in general. I used to have such a website. It used to be at config.davidwill.com, but that site's been down ever since the SourceHut DDoS because I was hosting that on SourceHut pages. So since that's down, I need to go back and fix it. And one way to fix that is to go back to a literate configuration so I can generate a website using org publish. So we will get back to the situation where I have a configuration website that people can go look at, and I can link to that from the YouTube videos. So if you've been missing that, we'll have it back soon. Maybe even in this video, but we'll see. I don't know. It might take longer than that. All right, let me see what's going on in the chat. Jailbro Supreme says, Control-C single quote is awesome to use on code blocks. Yes, that's definitely the way to edit code in code blocks. You don't want to edit it directly in a code block because it would be too troublesome. What else? See, Eric is talking in the chat about doing a reverse tangle with org babel detangle. Yeah, that does work, but it is tricky, I think. I've actually written my own detangle as well. I have an approach for that in my config that I haven't really checked in or used yet. But it is possible to have the opposite approach where you have an org file that sucks in the contents of files that are on your hard drive and then puts them in the org file. It could be that I take that approach eventually, but I want to try this approach first because it's kind of fun editing your configuration in org files. I miss it a little bit from the way that I used to do it, so we'll see. We'll see. I may stick with it. I may not stick with it, but that's sort of the name of the game with system crafting. Germ the Worm says, have you tried L2org? I don't think so. Is that one of the sort of the reverse literate things where it creates an org file from your Emacs Lisp? Finn says you can make a sort of literate config with rich comments using all out mode. Haven't heard of that. Eric says detangling is useful when debugging code that was tangled. Yes, I'm sure that could be. Glenneth says my current config is modular, requiring my .el files from the init.el file. I will probably stick with that approach. Yeah, I think it is possible to have an approach where you have all of your sections of your Emacs configuration emitted to different Emacs Lisp files and then load those as modules in your config. Silas actually does that in his configuration if you check out his video. So that is something that you could do. And John Cooper says in the chat, I've been trying to get outlines to work in a plain.el file, but it hasn't quite worked out yet. Yeah, I've tried it a couple times too, and it hasn't really worked out the way that I wanted it to. All right, so let's just go ahead and get started. So what I'll do, I've already got an Emacs file set up here. So let me just jump over to my .files folder and then emacs.org. So I've started writing this, but I haven't really gotten very far. So if my goal is to emit the files directly to where they belong on the system, then I might have to move my Emacs config. And I don't know how that's going to work with having Emacs open right now. We're going to have to check that out in a second. But basically what I'm saying is that in my home folder, if I look at where emacs.d is, I've got it symlinked into my .file/emacs.d. I would probably change that. But maybe let's just stick with this for now. I think it's probably better just to stick with this for now, at least for the Emacs config. Maybe for other parts of my config, which if we have time, I'll get to that. I can do it the other way. So first of all, I need to make sure that I have the right contents of the init.el file in here. So I want to grab whatever's the latest here. I've been making a lot of changes to my configuration over the last few days, so I want to make sure that everything is up to date. So now let me turn on keycast mode as well. All right, so if I go into that emacs.org file, and I'll just go ahead and split this window as well so we can jump back and forth. So in the initialization section, I'm going to use Control-C single quote to edit this block so that it's easier to edit. I will paste in the existing code, and then I'll delete the code that was there before just to make sure that everything is up to date. So this is putting my entire init.el file into this code block. I'm also going to add the header for tangle. I'll say .emacs.d/init.el because currently we are in the .files folder, and .emacs.d is where my Emacs configuration currently resides. So if I go back, I want to put that into .emacs.d/init.el so that it goes to the right place. I'm not doing any auto tangling right now, but I will run Control-V, Control-C. Sorry, that's wrong. I'm hitting all the wrong bindings. Control-C-V-T. So it says it's tangled one code block. Now I want to check with Magit. Has it actually changed anything? It looks like this line got changed somehow. I don't know if like some line ending got changed on that line. I'll kill that, and then I'll run it again just to see what happens. So Control-C-V-T, tangled it again. Yeah, it seems for whatever reason that line is now different. I think it must be some kind of white space in there. That's okay though. All right, so that's one file that is being tangled. But then I've got this whole folder of modules that also need to be tangled. So let's see. First one is the core module. I think that some of the core stuff really needs to go into the main init config because this core config that I have is a bit of a dumping ground. So it might be an opportunity to clean that up a little bit and just have it be in the main config. And then some of the what you might consider optional functionality that may not be loaded on all machines could be in module files instead. So let me take a look at the modules folder, not that one, the modules folder, and then the DW core module. So there's a lot of stuff in here. It's about 500 lines. I think some of this stuff can definitely be moved around a little bit. Alejandro says, I don't know if you've already answered this, but why do you use .emacs.d instead of .config/emacs? The reason why is because I was previously using Emacs to do multiple Emacs profiles, and I had symlinked Emacs into .config/emacs, which is sort of like the newer configuration path where you can find the Emacs config. At some point, I stopped using Emacs, and I just symlinked that .emacs.d folder, which I already had in my .files folder, directly to my home folder. So that way, it just was easy to get started and not have to move things around. So that was the only reason why I used .emacs.d here. But generally, people should be using the .config/emacs folder that is in your home folder, .config/emacs. That's where ideally you would put your Emacs config these days with the modern Linux XDG config path or whatever the variable is for that. It's like the X desktop environment guideline specification. Not sure what that XDG stands for. But the point is that there's a standard place for program configuration at the user level, and that's under the .config folder in the home folder. So let's see. There's a lot of stuff in here. Let me see what things I want to pull out. So I will grab all this stuff first. Yes, XDG config home. Thank you to Gun. I'll grab all this stuff first, which is basically keeping Emacs configuration clean. I may have to move this up to a different location. In fact, you know what? That's actually the right way to do this. So Alejandro reminded me that I need to put my config in the right place. So actually, what we'll do to make this more obvious and more clean is to put our output files into the home config folder. So let me use my mouse because I'm still adjusting to the configuration. I'll put .config/emacs /init.el, and then I'll say makedir yes. That makedir p is actually important because it tells Emacs to create the folder where this tangled file would go if it doesn't already exist. So Control-C-V-T, it tangled one code block. Let's go into .config/emacs init.el, and that file now is there. Then there's nothing else in there at the moment because we aren't tangling any of the files there just yet. So that now works. And we can get back to our main DW core file. So let's go back to DW core. So this subber x, what am I using subber x for? I think it's one of the string functions, which I probably don't need anymore. In fact, I could probably get rid of that. I want to get rid of as much stuff as possible. So let's just get rid of that. Mail enabled, inbox query. I could probably get rid of that somewhere else too. So let's just go ahead and start with the no littering part of this and copy. Whoops, I want to cut that out, in fact. All right, so I'm cutting that, and then I'm going to put this over in emacs.org. I'm going to add a new heading for this. So keeping the Emacs folder clean. And here we go. So I will do a tangle here for init.el and also, oops, not init.el. I need to put the right block. I might need to standardize what I'm doing for this to make it easier to create new blocks with certain file names. So in fact, that's a good idea. I might go add a structure template for that in a second. But for now, let's just do config/emacs/init.el. I'm not going to put makedir p on this one because the first block should have already created it. What happens with these tangled blocks is that if you have multiple tangled blocks with the same file inside of this org file, they will all get put out into the same output file. So let me open that file over on this side so we can see it when it happens. .config emacs init.el. Now that stuff isn't there yet. In fact, I need to take that core file out as well. So let's take this core file out here because we don't want that. And also, since we don't have our modules yet, I'll go ahead and comment these out. In fact, let me open this up with Control-C single quote to make it a little bit easier to edit this and comment these modules out. So We'll go ahead and comment out all this stuff with alt semicolon. And I think that's good enough for now. And I also want to edit this path here as well. So I need to change to be, change this to be, I'm hitting the wrong key, obviously. Config, and then Emacs/modules. So that should be good enough to get that to be the right path. If I use Control CVT, we can now see that this should be updated. If I use revert buffer, auto revert should be on, but it doesn't seem to be working right now. So we see that we do have the output here. All that stuff that I commented out from the buffer from the org file now is commented out here as well. And then this extra stuff that I added for the keeping the Emacs folder clean shows up here as well. So the setting the user Emacs directory, and then the addition of the no littering package, which sets the output files for various different packages to a location that you can kind of sequester them and not have them included in your Emacs config. So that is working pretty well so far. Let me check and see if there's any questions in the chat. Eric makes a good point in the chat. You can have file-wide source block header arguments using the property header args. What do they call that? There's a specific name for that. Is it like an argument? I can't remember what the name is for that. But anyway, that's a great way to have all the blocks in the file go to a specific location. It sort of defaults that header parameter, that block parameter, to a certain value. We could do that. That could simplify things, but then at some point we have to start writing out the different module files as well. So it might be better to not set that and just be explicit. All right, let me actually go look at where I have my modules, DW workflow, tempo. So I have a few of these structure template accelerator keys. I don't know what you would call that. Let's do this. Config init. And then that's going to be source Emacs Lisp tangle config/Emacs init.el. I don't know if this is going to work yet, but yes, I think it will work. We're going to see in just a second whether this works. Emodule. You'll see what this means in a second. Source Emacs Lisp tangle.config/Emacs/init.el. No, sorry. Modules/dw module.el. Victor P, yes. We want to make sure that gets created. And then I'll use Control-Alt-X to eval this whole block to make sure that those variables are set. And then back in my emacs.org, what I can do is say, what is this, less than init tab. And now I have a block that automatically has all that stuff set up for me. This is nothing fancy. What this is the org structure template A list, which is a variable that comes with the org. And you're setting templates that have these sort of short keys, and init is the one that I just typed. And then you just give it the contents of that line that goes in the block. And then when I typed in less than init tab, then it just created a block with that heading. This works because of org tempo, which is a module. If we use find library, we can go to org tempo that comes with org. If you load org tempo and then you set this structure template A list, then inside of org files, you automatically get that ability to then create blocks using these templates. So if I said emodule here and press tab, then it creates a new block, and I can just go change this module name to whatever I want. So in the case of workflow.el, I can do that as well. So I could, if I wanted to, I could just go ahead and copy that org tempo configuration that I had here. And I'll just leave it in the file. I don't want to mess with that just yet. So if I go back to my emacs.org, I could paste that in. And then I think I already changed that file to workflow. Yep. So Control CVT. And then if I go back into my folder here, let me see. Emacs. It's .config. I should have updated that to be the full home path. So Let's make sure we get that right. In fact, we don't need that one just yet. So I'll kill this one. And also this line. And the next line. Okay. There we go. So if I were to use Control CVT, now we see that this modules folder popped up here. If I go in there, we can see the DW workflow with that file as expected. All right. So now I need to go back and fix those lines because that's not right. I want to make sure they go straight to my home folder and not to this sort of subfolder where my configuration currently is. So if I go to the beginning of this line, I can then save that. Okay. Got that saved. Now we should be able to use that for every time that we create a new block. And we're still in emacs.org here. I'll just create a new heading here. Org mode configuration. Nothing special just yet. I'll add some, explanation to all these things later whenever I have time. But now I just want to sort of move the most salient parts of the configuration and type them in. Sorry, try them out whenever I get around to it. So we got the initialization part, just the early initialization part. No littering we've got in here. Let's see, what else I want to pull in from DW core? Some of this stuff, basic Emacs settings. Yeah, I definitely want that. Maybe what I'll do is leave this file unchanged for now. I won't delete anything from it yet. That part I'll delete. That's not needed, but everything else I think I'll save because I don't want to lose my config that's working. Native compilation. So if I go back over here, this is not super interesting, I know, so we'll just try to move through this as fast as possible. All right, so here I will say native compilation configuration, and I'll use the init for that, and I just drop that line right in, and it should be fine. What else I want to grab from here? The basic UI settings. Definitely need that. So I'll jump in here and throw a line after this. Basic user interface customization, init, and then drop that right in. And then up here, I'll add a new empty line. It's like having a little bit of space around my code blocks. Another thing that I do is I use this line indentation stuff in code blocks, which I'm not 100% sure whether I like it or not. What was it called? I go back to that workflow file. It was called org indent edit source content indentation. If you look at the variable for that, indentation for the content of a source code block. So I basically have it set to indent all source code blocks by 2 spaces. And that's why they automatically get 2 spaces here, just to give it a little bit of space from the side. But it does cause problems copying and pasting code snippets sometimes. So it's always better to go into the org edit special and then come back out of it to make sure that the indentation gets put on those blocks. Okay, so now we've got another block in here for the native compilation config. Let me just see. We should try this out soon. I can copy a couple more things in here just to have it in. So I wouldn't call that core key bindings. What would I call that? That's still part of the, some of that's part of the display, I think. Basic settings. I don't know. This is not a good title for this section, but that's what we're going to go with for now. All right, since I've added a few things here, we can go ahead and run Control CVT to write them out. What I might try to do is run a new instance of Emacs and see how it looks so far. So what I can do is run Emacs --init directory .config/Emacs. And then let's see, cannot load, no littering. I haven't set up the package system yet, so we'll need to do that before this is going to work. So in fact, I can run that using async shell command, Emacs init directory config/Emacs, so that it's a little bit easier to try it out and then just sort of pop back from it. Okay, so now we need to set up the package manager, which is something that I do pretty early on in the config. so that we can install packages at least. So let's start right here saying package manager setup init. And then I'll go over to DW package, I think is what it's called. And I'm not doing much here. I'm just setting up use package. I don't need to provide that DW package. I don't really see the need of having this be a separate module. I just kind of went a little bit happy with setting up individual modules for things, but maybe I'll go back from that. I'm not exactly sure yet. This will probably change significantly over time. I'm just sort of getting a feel for the literate configuration again. So unfortunately, I have to have Melpa in here. I actually tried to get rid of Melpa today, but I realized that many packages that I use require Melpa. So unfortunately, I can't get rid of that yet. So I'll just leave that in. I'll also initialize a package archive, then install use package if it's not there. And then one thing I like to do is turn on use package always ensure when I'm not in Geeks, because in Geeks, I'm already installing most of my packages using Geeks. But if I'm not in Geeks, like right now, I want use package to automatically install all the packages that I need so that I don't have to go and change the way my configuration looks whenever I load it on another machine. So if I were to write this out, Control-C-V-T, and then try to run that Emacs config again, still says cannot load no littering. Let me double check what's going on in the configuration file there. Let's see, if I go to the init.el in the Emacs folder, I can see that. Now, why is global revert mode not working? That's kind of weird. Benoit says, I thought you went back to non-literate. I did. Now I'm going back to literate. Are you confused yet? I must have messed something up. So let's take a look. Oh, for some reason, this one did not get the home folder change. What's going on with that? DW workflow, tempo. Okay, I executed this block. Let me double check the value here, Control-HV. No, for some reason it's not actually updating. What did I do? I swear to God, I changed it right there. Did I really not change that? Did I imagine it? Okay, now it's right. Cool. So that's why that didn't show up. Let me see, is there any other one here that is wrong? Yes, a couple of them. Here we go. Right here, we'll get this one as well. Okay. There's this one as well. Oh, I'm having some trouble here with my fingers. You know, it takes a little while to get used to different key bindings, and I'm struggling a little bit at times to get my fingers to cooperate with vanilla Emacs, but it's going okay. All right, so I think that all of them are fixed now. So if I run Control-C-V-T, then I don't know, will it revert on its own after some time, or am I gonna have to do it myself? Let's take a look. Yeah, it's not reverting. There we go. So I think now it should be, yeah, everything's in there now. So if I run that configuration again, now it's going to start installing packages because it's loading the use package configuration and everything else. And let's see how long it's going to take to contact Melpa and download these packages again. Paul asks, how do you get those pretty source blocks? That is the org modern package. If you just turn on org modern, then it prettifies a lot of stuff into org buffers, which is nice. Alternate Vet says prot envy. No, it's not prot envy. I was already thinking of doing this. Prot was just sort of like the straw that broke the camel's back, as it were. All right, so we did actually get that set up. So let me go back into emacs.org. All right, let me get some theming going on here so we don't have to look at that glaring load. Ah, yes, it's in core. Theme. Where's my theme? Here we go. So all the face setting business here. All right, so let me grab this whole bit and then I'm going to jump back over basic user interface configuration, I'm also going to drop a little subheading here if I can get back to where I wanted to be. Oh, I'm moving this block around. That's great. So if I go down to this heading where I wanted to be, set the theme, init. The way I look at it is that my init.el file should have the configuration that is used by everything. Every place where I pull in Emacs, or where I use Emacs, it should be a configuration that is relevant to all the places where I use Emacs, not just one specific machine. And then module files should probably be things that might be loaded or might not be loaded based on the machine. Okay, so I've got my Doom themes there, Control-C-V-T. That tangles everything out again. If I run the configuration, it should install Doom themes. And it did not. Let's check it. Maybe. Yeah, this block is not actually getting, it's not updating the templates, which is very strange. All right, so now I've updated it. And it's trying to install Doom themes. Glenn says, your path is still wrong. Yes, I don't know why it's doing that. Symbols function definition is void DW system settings get. I want to get rid of that monstrosity that I created for managing per system settings. For now, what I'll do is I want to establish some configuration variables up at the top. Then I can change per machine. So let me see. What do I want to do that? I want to do that pretty early on, I think. Establish configuration variables. So here's what I'll do. I've already got some of these set up. Init. Wait, before I do that, let me go check that. Yeah, okay, so this is right. It should do the right thing. I wonder if I have to re-init. Yeah, something's wrong. I don't know if this is a facet of how org tempo works. Let me run normal mode to sort of re-init org. And then init tab. Still doesn't do it. I don't know what's happening. Oh, you know what's happening? I think that what I did was really stupid. Okay, so here's the problem. I'm using add to list to add these templates to org structure template A list. I think the org structure template A list is probably enormous right now because I keep adding the same stuff over and over again. It's not. It dedupes it. But it dedupes it wrong. Okay, so it's using some equivalence check. Let me do this. I'm going to reset the value of, what was it set to by default? There's a lot of stuff in there. I should probably just set my own list instead of depending on what it does. But I'll set it back to the default. So set queue, org structure, template A list, single quote, shift insert. And then now that should be set back to default. And then I'll run that again and then check the value of the variable. And it has the new version. Okay, so there was a conflict there. There were two entries in the A list for emodule and einit. And because of that, it was picking the old one and not the new one that I wanted. So keep that in mind if you use add to list. Sometimes it will do things that are unexpected. If I go back into emacs.org and use einit now, it will give me the wrong thing again. So let's double check that. Did I actually execute that? I did. We saw the value. All right, normal mode. One last try, and then we'll just move on from that. So einit tab, still not doing it. That's very strange. But if I were to restart this Emacs that we're looking at right now, I think it would work. CMAX says in the chat, what if you use add to end flag for add to a list? I don't know if adding it to the end is what's going to do it, but it's possible. It's possible. Salvaroth says you should reload your changes to your org config. I don't know if there's a way to do that other than just restarting Emacs. I'm running normal mode, which should sort of like restart org mode in the current buffer. Here, look, let's do it this way. I'll kill this buffer, then we'll reopen it. And then I'll go where I want to go, right here. Still the same. So it's not really working correctly. That's okay. Let's move on. So what I want to do is define a couple of variables. Def var dw fixed pitch. Well, let's look at it first. Let's look at it first. What I want to look at is how I'm setting the faces here. Fixed pitch font. We'll say JetBrains Mono. Probably should add strings to these. So the font used for default and fixed pitch faces. Okay, there's that. Let's edit that here, actually. Def var dw variable pitch font. I don't know what I have that set to right now. Something weird. Zenkaku Gothic New. Actually, I already got this variable. Let me just take that and jump back over here. So I'm not going to waste time typing out a whole bunch of stuff for this. So the font used for variable pitch base. And then I also have one for org headings to be different. So def var dw org heading font. And that's a lot C, which I don't like that much, but I haven't had a chance to go look at other fonts yet. The font used for org mode headings. All right. I also need font sizes for these. Probably it's better to have pairs for these things, but eh. So def var dw fixed pitch size. And what am I using for that right now? I'm using 102. 102 def var dw variable pitch size. And this is, I know, don't you just love seeing me use my mouse? That's 102 also, really? No, that's the wrong thing. I'm looking for the variable pitch size. I've got it hard coded to 120 at the moment. Cool. Not so cool. Okay, so I'm going to go grab this whole line. Actually, I need to fix that. I'll drop it right here. Whoops. So if I go up, open a new line up here. I keep forgetting to edit this in the edit special. Oh, I'm missing a paren at the end of this as well, it seems. There we go. Now we fixed the indentation by just cycling it a few times. Variable pitch size, we'll take that and put it right here as well. And then that's it. So that's good enough for just the sort of initial configuration settings. I just want to have that in a very easy to reach place to know which variables I use for configuration for the most part. Those will be the default values, and then I'll have some system-specific values that are loaded up as a separate module per system using the system name or the host name, I think, for the file name to make it easier to just do that automatically without a whole lot of extra configuration. CMAX says, oh boy, going in without par edit. That's a brave refactor. I don't use par edit. Pyramid Builder says, are you still kicking evil? Yes, I'm not using evil. Org restart, Salvara says, thank you. Org restart. Okay, I don't have that. Yeah, there's no org restart command or function. There's this restart font lock. Fade says, David Will is making it with the Chuck Norris programming. Yeah, I'm just, you know, banging around like a caveman. It's okay. Let me also see what's going on in the chat. I've been ignoring it a little bit. Borussia says, use Prots Fontaine. Yeah, I would like to use Fontaine, but I'm also trying to minimize the number of packages I pull in. I want to remove some more of the things I'm using. I actually started configuring my own mode line now. I have my own mode line configuration because I didn't want to pull in mood line, which is one I was using more recently. I would much prefer to just have a simple mode line config, and that's what this is right now. I have the minions package to make all of the minor modes get collapsed under one little icon. But for the most part, it's just a very simple mode line config. Eric says org reload. Is it really that? All right, let's try it. Let's give it a shot. That might work. I wasn't aware of it if that's actually the case. So if I were to go back up to here, no. Okay, init. Oh, still doesn't work. I don't know what's happening. I'm not gonna waste time on it though. All right, Control CVT. Oh, the one thing I didn't do yet is change that code that was using that system settings line. Also, the theme settings should be something that needs to be system specific, and I don't want to do this P case anymore. So that's something I should set up there as well, but we'll do that in a second. So here, I'll just delete this height and then use DW fixed pitch size. I think that's the variable that I use for that. Oh, I haven't actually evaluated it yet, but that's okay. DW fixed pitch size. All right. I'll get rid of these two lines because I've already done this somewhere else. Variable pitch font I've got, and then I've got the DW variable pitch size as well. All right, that should do it for that. These things, I mean, that needs to change. DW fixed pitch font, and let's copy this so I don't have to type it again. I'll drop that in right here, and then kill the rest of the line, and then jump back to font here. There we go. Control CVT. Now that config should load. Yep, that looks right, because now I have the theme set up correctly and the font set up correctly. So it looks basically the same as my current configuration, and that's expected. Let me make sure I close the right Emacs config. Okay. Gun says, what is the expanded value of the A list? It's what it's supposed to be. If I were to go back to org structure template A list, if you look at it, how did it come back? What happened? It's being stored somewhere. The only thing I can say is that there's goblins or sprites or some kind of demonic force inside of Emacs when it comes to the structure templates that are keeping the values from being updated correctly. So I'm just going to blame it on something else. It's definitely not me that caused the problem. It's something else in Emacs. Butterflies. Yes, it's something. Some randomness, chaos in the universe that's causing Emacs to set things back when I had already cleared them. Gun says, it's not buffer local, is it? Well, I already cycled the buffer. I killed the buffer and opened it again, so that should get rid of the buffer local setting. So I would think that should fix it, but like I said, we're not going to spend more time on it. I don't want to deal with that. So we already do have the configuration looking pretty much right to start with, which is good. Startup time is excellent. Emacs init time, because it doesn't do anything. It's 0.6 seconds. That's cool. But when we throw some more garbage in here, it will certainly increase. So what's next? I need to bring up my split again, go over to core. Let's get some more interesting stuff going on here. I mean, right now it's not super interesting. Got the theme, the font set. I don't really care about timer. But frame is useful. I would put that somewhere else probably. I don't know. Maybe it belongs. So let's just pull in frame. I also have some tab bar mode configuration that probably fits in a workspace section. So I'll copy all of this part. Jump over to this side, go to the bottom. I'll put this in before the org mode config. And I'll say workspace configuration. I'm calling this workspaces, but really it's frame per frame buffer listings, which I treat frames kind of as workspaces right now, but I am getting back into using tab bar mode a little bit. Okay, so that part will go in. That's cool. That all looks good. We got consult buffer sources. So actually, I'm setting up consult, but I haven't set up the Vertigo yet. Vertigo, where is that? In my current init.el, I have DW settings, DW keys. That's my base key bindings. I have core and then interface. So I'm doing consult setup before I actually set up Vertigo. Let's go change that because I use Vertigo everywhere. So there's no reason it shouldn't be in my init.el interface. So Hydra, I don't really even use Hydra anymore because Embark does a good job. So maybe I can like not just include that. Okay, so my Vertigo config, Corfu, orderless, wgrep, consult. I'm just gonna grab this whole big block, jump over on this side. Basic settings, what else have I got? The user interface. Let's just call it completion. Let's say Vertigo, consult, and embark. That's sort of like the important parts. Ooh, I just type in E, I, and I, and it worked. E-I? Ooh, okay. So it even takes like a prefix of the stuff that you type. E-M. Nice. I kind of like that. So I don't have to type in the whole E-init. All right, so I've got this block here. I need to fix the path, I know. Delete that part, delete this character that got left behind. Then go back and fix this path. All right, so now CVT, and if I were to load the config again, we should see it install all those other packages like Vertigo, Consult, Marginalia, Embark, etc. Borussia says, my Emacs init time is 0.547591 seconds. Your Emacs is bloated. Oh, man. That's like the worst insult you could give to me is to tell me my Emacs config is bloated. Terrible. So mean. Okay. So let's see. Package Embark console should be installed. Sure, whatever. Drishal says, why not use Alpaca? Because it's extra stuff. I would rather just not use extra stuff if I don't have to. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Alpaca. I just don't personally see any value of it for me. All right, so we should now have Vertigo set up here. If I use Alt-X, we can see that it is there. Find file. Okay, so orderless seems to be working correctly. Alt-D, test, Alt-D. It is trying to call embark, but yes, that function can't be evaluated because it's trying to do some default functionality. So that does make sense. All right, so that is working correctly for now. If I can close this Emacs session. All right, good. So that's all good. That works just fine. I mean, we could continue on for another 30 minutes trying to move the rest of my Emacs configuration into that file, but that's not very interesting. What could be interesting is to look at things from a system configuration perspective and try to create some scripts, some bash scripts that come from the configuration files. So if I were to go into my system.org file that I've created, I haven't really put anything here yet, but what I want to do is make some helpful scripts. So updating the system. So I'm going to put sh here, which is going to make a shell block, but this does need to have some Tangle stuff added. I might want to add a structure template for this one as well, but let me grab the contents of a file that I already have on the system here. It's in the .bin folder. This is xup, which is a little basically an alias. I guess this would be better as an alias, but some of these things will have other functionality. And I also want to call sudo as part of it. So it's an alias to the xbps install command, which I don't like having to type out xbps install all the time. So I'm just going to create a little bash script to do that for me. So if I go into my system.org file, I can drop the contents of this in here. And I can even get rid of this bin sh, because there's a way to configure the shebang for sh files. I may not need to do it for that one because it's just using the plain sh. So we'll see if we can do that without. However, we do want to do something else, which is to set the mode of the file to be executable whenever I create this file, so that automatically I can start running it. So let me check out org babel file mode. I can't remember the setting for that. It's not in that. Results of evaluation mode. Yes, here it is. Okay, file mode header argument defines the file permissions. To make it executable, use file mode identity 0755. So here we go, file mode. I can just copy this, drop it into my block. I also need to go back and put the tangle directive in there as well. So I will put tangle /bin/xup make dir p yes, because I want to make sure that the folder exists if it doesn't already. And let's delete the original file that I had so that we can double check to make sure that it gets recreated correctly. So I'm going to go up here to bin. I'm going to delete this xup file, so now it doesn't exist anymore. We'll jump back to system.org, control CVT, and it has now recreated it, and it does not seem to be executable, surprisingly. Let's see, why is that the case? If I were to go into the terminal, does it make it executable? Permission denied. So no, it's not executable. I don't know why it didn't create it the way that it's supposed to. Unless there's something else I need to do on that line. File mode identity 0755. Let me go check my old configuration files, because I did have some stuff for this as well. System.org identity file mode. Did I take all that out? I must have taken it all out. Okay, looking to see if anybody in the chat had any ideas on that. File mode header argument defines file permissions. Why is it identity? Why does it need to be identity? That's a function call, isn't it? Can it just be a string? Did it give me any message saying that it can't set it correctly? Still the same. Oh, did it add the shebang as well? No, it did not. Okay, so I think there's a shebang somewhere. I know it's in here. Exporting code blocks. Shell, file mode, no. I swear, it's in there. Oh, this is something else. Man, I swear, there is a way to do this. Shebang header argument can turn results into executable script files. Okay, I think that's what we're missing here. Okay, it's in this extracting source code section. So the shebang header argument can turn results into executable script files. Setting it to a string value, for example. I wonder if I can just say yes, and it will pick one by default. So let me go do that. We'll see if it gives me the wrong output. If it gives me a shebang of yes, that'd be pretty funny. Control C, VT. We're going to go back to bin. All right, it's now executable, and yes is the shebang. Okay, fine. We'll put the right one in there. Sorry, YouTube is complaining to me saying that I don't have enough bandwidth. I don't know what's going on there. Shebang is supposed to be a string, so that's cool. We'll just do bin sh. And the file mode seems to be getting set correctly. File mode. So tangle mode may be the right thing. File mode seems to be working. Maybe it's by default. Let's put tangle mode though. Tangle mode. And now Control CVT. And if we go back into the xup file, revert buffer, then now it has the correct bin sh. If I were to go into eShell, I could say xup, and it should be executable. Command not found. Oh, xup. Yeah, and if I just put in my password, which I'm just typing in garbage right now, then that would actually be able to run. So cool, that worked. So now I can basically create any scripts that I want into a bin folder using that approach. Also, I want to set up my bash RC or bash profile, I guess, bash profile. I already have some stuff in here. I'll just move this into a part of the system configuration, and I want to add that bin as part of my config. So bash configuration. And this is more of like a conf. I don't know, like what would I call this? It's technically shell, right? Let's delete this. All right, go away. Bye-bye. Shell. We're gonna paste this in, and then we're gonna set the tangle to bash profile. We don't need to make the directory because it's already going to be there for sure. So Control CVT. Now the bash profile file, if we revert that, we should see that the little header comment has gone away because we don't need it anymore. Now I can also set my path here, but I wonder if I should do that in bash RC. We'll just do it here first. So add.bin to path. So export path equals path colon home tablewheel.bin. That's probably effective. Control CVT. And if I go over to that bash profile again, revert the buffer, then I see that that is at the top. So now we have some of these system level configuration as well being spit out into the home folder. We can see that we are definitely there where in my home folder where bash profile is. So that just goes directly into the output. Trev says, this guy is good at Emacs bindings. I'm not that good at it. I'm stumbling and using my mouse all the time. So I think you're just being sarcastic. So let's see, what else? There's other things that I had to set up in this configuration, which I might want to, but bash RC, I definitely want to pull this in too, because there's some stuff here that's needed. I'll get this little part out here, some experimentation from earlier. So I'll copy this part and go back into my system.org and then put in the bash RC bit. Oh, there's one other thing I wanted to do, which will be a good example, which we'll get to in just a second. So tangle .bash RC, and now if I use Control CVT, Control CVT, I go back into the home folder .bash RC, then we'll see that it's been changed and it doesn't have that header anymore. So we are using the more recent version of that. That's great. I don't think there's anything else that I want to show there. I do want to set read only. For instance, to create a read-only file that one may use tangle mode identity 0444. Okay, so maybe on some of these things I want to default it to 0444. And we had an example earlier that Eric had provided us in the chat where there was a header line. There's a property line in the header. That's what it's called, property line. I forgot it from earlier. So I will copy this over, and then in all of my files, I need to actually set this. So I'm going to set a property line, and that's going to be tangle mode identity 0444. And then for anything that needs to turn into an executable, I should probably set the right mode for that as well. So it's not going to be 755. I don't exactly know the right number for this. It would be 744. Would it be 6 or 5? I'm not sure. Unix read-only executable. What is it like? Octal? Yeah, octal. .644 means you can read and write the file or directory, and others can only read it. 755 means you can do anything. Let's see. What is the command to read something? So what if I what if I do this? Chmod u minus r xup. So wait, no, I don't want to. That was dumb. U plus r. I don't want to make it unreadable. I want to make it unwritable. There we go. Okay, so I took that writable out. Okay, Ryota says in the chat, 4 for read, 2 for write, and 1 for executable. So it should be 555. 1, 2, 4, 1 bit each. Let me go back to the bottom of the chat. RWX is 555. I want it to not be writable. I want it to be read only. 544 could be. Is there a command to use for that? To read the octal? Let's see. Linux command read octal permission of file. I should know these things. Get out of here, man. Okay, stat format. There we go. Cool. Let's just use a stat command. And that's going to be the X up. 555. All right. Is that right? John Cooper said 555 in the chat, so we're going to go with that. So that will give us a read-only script. Now if I revert this buffer, what just happened? Okay, that was the wrong buffer, of course. Bash profile, revert buffer, yes. It doesn't tell me this one is read-only now. Oh, you know why? It's because I need to go back and execute the header line. Control-C, local setup has been refreshed. Now if I were to Control-C VT again, it's tangled those blocks. If I revert this buffer, it should be read-only. Read-only mode. If I look at it in, it's read-write. Did I do that wrong? Tangle mode, right? John says, I think the shebang setting handles exec permissions. Maybe it's file mode. So that was working before, I think. All right, we're using Control-C to refresh the setup, Control-C-VT to retangle, then go back to the bash profile file, revert that buffer. Still doesn't seem to be read-only. Interesting. Well, that is what I would hope for it to do. What about use tangle mode identity 444. For tangle mode, you may use the symbolic notation. Can you really? Two other shorthands to recognize: ls style strings or chmod style permissions. Okay. Chmod style permissions are based on org babel default tangle mode, which is 544 by default. So that makes sense. Org babel tangle default mode 420. That's not what it said. But I guess that's the integer version of the octal. Huh? Yeah, I think this is only for the shebang. It's weird that it has two different things for that. All right, so let me try using the direct syntax here. So file mode, you what would it be? I don't know if that's right. Is that right? About to find out. Okay, so if we go back to the folder, bash profile is still writable. I probably did something wrong. So let's see, just do -w. How about that? And then tangle again. And I might have to delete that file and see if, what just happened? Okay, there's bash profile. It's still the same thing. Let me delete the file and see what happens. Yes. So if I go back to my home folder, and I delete the bash profile, and then I run tangle again, still read write. So John says in the chat, UGO plus RX. UGO. All right, UGO plus RX. I'm terrible at file permissions, obviously. All right, so CVT. There we go. Then back to bash profile, revert buffer. Still doesn't seem to be picking it up. Yeah, not picking it up at all. How annoying. Can I change the file and save it? Yeah, of course. Okay. Borussia said, did you Control-C over the org preamble section? I sure did. Maybe I didn't do it that time. Let's see. Yeah, it's still the same. Anyway, that should work. Probably there's something else I'm doing wrong. I wonder if it's the shebang thing. Like it wants shebang to write out a file mode. I could look it up in the code, but let's not waste time on that. Okay, so we do have a few things out in our system configuration now, which is kind of cool. I have the bash config and a script that's now executable as a result of this. Let me check the bin folder and make sure that it has the right permission on everything. Okay, it's still executable and writable, which is fine. Everybody can execute this. I actually don't want that. So let me go into system and I'll change the file mode in, oh, wait. I never changed that back to tangle mode. All right, we'll do this one more time. Then I'll go to tangle mode here. Where is that? Right here. Tangle mode. So instead, I'll use the string u plus rx. Is it g plus r? Let me okay, I did that. Now I'm gonna run Control-C, whoops, Control-CVT. All right, now let's go back to the folder where xup is. Okay, it did actually take the write off of that one. Interesting. It's still executable for everyone though. I probably did something wrong in the string. So let me check the home folder, actually. I wonder if it actually got fixed. Not still writable. Fine. Osloy says, you keep saying let's not waste time on that, but those are exactly the kinds of things I get stuck on. Would like to see how a pro fixes it. Yeah, I don't know. It is nice sometimes to show the deeper stuff, but I also want to keep things moving. Eric says minus removes equal for equal for assignment. Interesting. What if I do that? Let's try it one more time and see what bash profile says. Whoops. Pull that computer back up. Okay. Yeah, still the same thing. I don't know. It doesn't want to make a file for me with the right mode, it seems. Granting permissions is not the same as revoking. Sure. So we made it to the point now where we have parts of our Emacs configuration being written out in the place where I want them to be, as well as certain bash configuration files and a couple of handy, one handy script. So I think it's a pretty good stopping point for showing the conversion process of moving my personal configuration into a literate org file. In a future video, I might do some extra stuff like how you could pull in a given file on your hard drive into your org files in case you want to do this in the reverse way. And also generating a website from your configuration. I've already got a video series started about generating websites from org files. That basically applies here, but there's probably some specific things you might want to do to make your website look really good whenever you want to generate a website from your configuration. So I'll cover that as well in another video. But hopefully that was useful to see me converting part of my configuration over to a literate org configuration. I'm going to continue working on this as time goes on. So if you want to see the latest on that, you can go to my github.com repository. I may eventually move this to Codeberg, but for now it's on GitHub. I did actually move my configuration from the Geeks Home branch back to the master branch. So this is actually the latest configuration now. You don't have to go look at the Geeks Home branch anymore. So you can take a look at what I'm doing here. Those files that I was just editing are not here yet, but they will be probably tomorrow or the next day. Maybe by the time you're looking at this video, you'll see them there because I'm talking about this on a stream right now. But yeah, anyway, hope you liked the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, etc., all those things. And until next time, happy hacking. Okay, all you who are here on the stream, I'm not leaving yet. I just had to sign off on the video. I hope that works. I don't know if that's actually going to work for a video creation strategy, but you know, I think we did some stuff. I'll see if I can actually make a video on Monday or Tuesday out of that. I should have told everybody before I did that I was going to do that. I'm sorry I didn't say that. So any last thoughts on literate configs? I know there's some expression of surprise that I'm going back to literate config in the chat. I'm changing a bunch of things. I got to get the juices flowing again. I've been using the same configuration for probably a couple of years now without many major changes. There's a couple things like switching to Wayland, using Pipewire, etc., but nothing is that big of a change, mainly because I was so busy with work and the stuff I was doing on the side that I never really got back to my config. So now I'm just I'm trying to get back into my configuration, clean it all up, make it be presentable, and also learn some new things because, to get your inspiration back to think of new things you want to do, you kind of have to just force yourself to play with new stuff. Part of that is getting rid of evil and using vanilla Emacs key bindings again. That definitely helped me to dust off the cobwebs a little bit and start thinking a little bit more about how I want to do things. Also trying to remove some of the stuff that I had in my configuration that I don't really use anymore. And even some things that I do use, but maybe there's a more in-the-box alternative that I can get by with and maybe get used to. It's a bit better, I think, to use that approach. Just don't add things you don't need because there's more stuff you have to maintain. The less that you have, the less that you use, the less you have to maintain. I guess it's kind of a minimalist perspective, but I'm not really trying to be philosophical here. I'm just trying to be practical in terms of how I craft and manage my system. Any thoughts on any of that? Anybody have any other interesting ideas for how one could use literate configuration? Oslo says, back to Monk. Yes, we're going back to caveman-style computering now. Yeah, I should have probably used that long syntax. I wonder if the long syntax would work. So just make it be what I want it to be. R-X, R-R-. That's not the one I want here. Here I want it just to be read, period. Let's see. It's going to suck if this works. After I already recorded the video. In fact, let me turn that recording off right now. All right, let's go to the home folder. No, it's still there. Still the same output. I think that there must be something that combination. Here, look. Let's take a look real quick. I got a few minutes. Org Babel. OB. So it's OB. OB is the library for Org Babel. File mode. No. Tangle mode. It's not there. Okay. OB Tangle. Let's go to OB Tangle. File mode. Okay. So there is a file mode. Interpret file mode. Can I look for the keyword for file mode? No. What about tangle mode? Okay, there we go. Let's get spec tangle mode. Org Babel tangle. Merge params. Shebang. I see that they're looking up shebang and tangle mode here. So, some of the indentation in these files is really jacked up. I don't know if this is right, because I think this should be indented, and it gives you the impression that it's at a higher level of evaluation when it's not. So let's see. When shebang, unless tangle mode, set tangle mode. I think that they're only doing this if shebang is set. Make dir p. Unless tangle mode. Okay, when tangle mode. Interpret file mode. It looks to me. No, it's definitely not that, Fade. It may be what Oslo says. Is it tab width? It could be tab width that's causing it. Yeah, I can't actually mess with that at the moment. Hadam says, what is this monstrosity? This is the org source code. So I think that this is only being executed if shebang is being used. If shebang, fun call get spec shebang, when length is greater than 0. Which is not cool. You kind of want this to work. File mode, set file modes, interpret file mode, tangle mode. Let's see, interpret file mode. Yeah, that's where tangle mode is. Interpret file mode. Okay. Thomas says tangle mode 0444, 0555 worked for him. Instead of using the identity thing. Yeah, you would think that they would have standard code and indentation. I don't know. Like, a lot of things slip by. Not she banged. She banged. She banged. We're calling up, what's his name? William Hung? That's an old meme. Who's thinking about William Hung in 2024? Highlight the whole region and reindent. It's read only. William Hung. I think that's his name, right? Yeah, this guy on American Idol. She Bangs. This is a song that he was singing, and it kind of went viral. Oh, okay. Did that just happen? Tangle mode. I turned off read only. Let's indent the S expression. Indent buffer. See, this thing doesn't work. There we go. See? I see. Okay, so maybe it isn't bound on that. Unless tangle mode. Okay, it defaults tangle mode, but it should work. I don't know why it does that identity thing. So why is it that they told me to do identity on this whenever clearly it should just be the literal? 0444. Okay, not recognized as a valid format. That's not going to work either, is it? No. That didn't do anything. Should I just put that directly on the block? I mean, maybe this is not working as a result of... Put it back, put it back. Whatever. This one, where is it? Batch profile? Tangle mode. UGO equals R. Let's just say that. This should be RX anyway. What am I thinking? Let's try that. Still the same. Yeah, it's, I don't know. Nothing's working. Without the hash, just tangle mode 044. I don't think it's going to work. Let's also, yeah, it's not working for me. I don't know what's happening. Without the hash, identity, yeah, none of it's working. That's okay though. Anyway, that was cool though. I'm kind of excited to mess with a literate config again. I don't know how it would go, but you know. Germ the Worm says it doesn't work for me without shebang. Yeah, I'm getting that impression that it might not work, and I don't want to add shebang to a file that doesn't need it. I suppose. Well, I suppose if I wanted to be extremely cheeky, what I could do is say, well, I don't want to do that right there. Let's do this. Let's do this. Just one last little check. Shebang, empty space. I'm going to be pissed if that works. It worked. You see that right there? Empty space shebang. It works. And it puts an empty line at the top, which is what I want. More or less. What a pain. See, I didn't record that part, so I can't put that in the video now. Whatever. Okay. I'll put that in the show notes. I got to write this up anyway. I don't want to put shebang on everything in this file, but I might have to. Edit it in. Yeah, I'll just have to, you know, do a smash cut to a day later when I've realized all the things I did wrong. Yeah, it only sets permissions if the shebang is set. That's what it looks like. That's the impression that I'm getting here. All right, I gotta go. I gotta go help my family before all hell breaks loose. Let me just cut the stream off using some music here. Start music, because we've been going without music the whole time. I need to put the music on a separate track. There it is. Okay, folks. Thank you all for being here today. I appreciate you indulging me in this little experiment to try to make a video out of the stream. We'll see how well it works. Hopefully nobody said anything too offensive in the chat that I have to somehow edit out. But yes, hope you all have a great weekend. Come hang out with us in the IRC on Libra Chat, Subscribers channel, and also the Subscribers forum. And until next time, happy hacking. We'll see you.